it really saves time on the listener. If they're very time poor, they might find a specific tip or a section of the episode is going to draw their attention. So if I put the timestamp in there, they can skip to that part. If they really enjoy it, they'll probably listen to the full thing. So that's one way how you can up your game in regards to the show notes, and do this for every episode.
Welcome to the Soundboard with Tofe podcast. To the industry leaders and forward-thinking companies, this is your resource to become a better podcaster. You'll be taken on a journey to learn tips and tricks around podcast strategy, editing, and curation. And here's your host, Tofe Evans.
Welcome back to the Soundboard with Tofe podcast. I'm your host, Tofe, and we are up to episode 26. 3 tips on structuring your podcast. If you've been in the game for a while, you know that podcasting can be very time consuming. So I thought I would dedicate this episode on the little things that you can do to not only standardize your episodes so there is a structure, but to save you a bit of time so that in the long run, you've got like a well-oiled machine. The first tip I can give you is make sure that you have an episode format. When I say an episode format, I would use the analogy of a recipe. The recipe is consisted of having the ingredients, putting the ingredients together, then starting the cooking process, whatever you're deciding to cook. The same thing applies with having podcast episodes, so that when you put all these ingredients together, that in the method or in the final product, there is a consistency. When you have a standardized format, it makes it easier when you're compiling the episode as a finished product. You may have an intro at the start. You may have a mid-roll plug. You may have the episode. You may not have anything, but what is good to have consistency? What I'm going to do for you is give you a basic format on what you can use. This is what I usually give to my clients. It is something that I've noticed what the pros do, and here it is. It's usually 5 to 6 things. There is usually a snippet at the start. This is a 10 to 30 second soundbite, something that's very compelling that's taken throughout the episode, so that when the listener clicks on the episode for the first time, this soundbite is the very first thing they hear, mainly because of attention span. If it's compelling enough, they will listen to the full episode. This is a better approach than having, hey, blah, 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 this is the host of XY podcast. You're more inclined to get them in the snippet. That's what people usually do in content these days because of attention span. Then you can go into a jingle or the theme music. Chuck in a pre-intro. All this is a 1 to 3 minute recorded intro. It's usually done after the episode. This usually summates what the episode is about. This is optional because I don't do it, because my episodes are 5 to 10 minutes long, sometimes even 3 minutes long. So there's not really any point on doing a pre-recorded intro. Then there's the episode itself. So that's the 4th thing. Chucking in a mid-roll. When I say a mid-roll, this could be a 45-second plug. It could be from a sponsor that you have. It could be an ad. It could be yourself that is promoting a product that you have. Whatever it is, use that time to put in some sort of plug. And a plug could also be, hey guys, I would love for you to subscribe to the show. Something that's just a very basic thing that you can do. And it's almost like you can also be very creative with it and make a bit of a break. I know Spartan Up, they make it a bit of a burpee break where they get everyone to do a burpee or so. Continue the episode and then follow it out by a pre-recorded outro if you really want, or outro music. What I will do for you is I will put this all in the show notes so that you can see the basic episode format. But that is the first tip. that I would give you on how you can structure your podcasts. The second tip I would give you on structuring your podcast episodes is having timestamps. What exactly are timestamps? In the show notes, in the episode description, whatever you want to call it, what you would do is grab 3 to 5 compelling sections from the interview. 5 is an absolute maximum. 3 is usually the sweet spot. Where was something compelling in the episode that is going to have someone really tuned in? An example of this for this episode, because I'm doing the 3 tips, I would timestamp at each of the start of the tip. So it could be at 2 minutes, 3 minutes 3, and 4 minutes 57. This is a hypothetical. I would put that in the show notes, in the episode description, in any sort of content that I'm putting out. What that does, it really saves time on the listener. If they're very time poor, they might find a specific tip or a section of the episode is going to draw their attention. So if I put the timestamp in there, they can skip to that part. If they really enjoy it, they'll probably listen to the full thing. So that's one way how you can up your game in regards to the show notes, and do this for every episode. Now, the third and final tip I can give you on how you can structure your podcast is close the episode the same way for every guest. Now, 2 ways this can be done is by asking a question, but it's the same question that you ask every guest at the very end. A very good example would be Lewis Howes in the School of Greatness. He usually asks his guests, what is your definition of greatness? And Tom Bilyeu, he usually asks, what does impact mean to you? So think of something that would get the guest to really think about. You want it to be an open-ended question, but hard enough for them to really think of it. It's usually like a really philosophical question. Having that standardized, you can actually turn this into content. This could be something where 20, 30, 40, 50 guests later down the track, you could use that one question and have so many different responses and perspectives. That would make really good content. Another way that you can standardize the close of an episode is having like a rapid 5. I know Brene Brown does this. She just has 5 random questions, really personable questions, like what's on your bedside table, what book are you reading, what is one food that you would never give up, things like that. And that adds a sense of playfulness. It makes it really personable. Anyway, I'm going to wrap it up there. I have many more ways on how you can structure your podcast, but I will save these for a future episode, mainly because I want these episodes to be short and sharp. Now, if you found this episode valuable, please share it around, and I will see you in the following episode.
Thank you for listening, and for more information about Soundboard services, please check out the show notes. Lastly, Soundboard acknowledges the traditional owners of the land on which we meet today, paying respects to elders past, present and emerging.